Hey everyone! Before we jump into today's video, I just want to take a moment to say a huge thank you for all the endless support. Because of you, the channel has officially reached over 4,000 watch hours. That milestone has unlocked some exciting new features: Super Chat, which lets you send highlighted messages during live streams; Super Thanks, where you can show extra support on regular videos with a special highlighted comment; and Super Stickers, which are fun, animated stickers you can send during live chats to stand out and keep things lively. Plus, channel memberships are now available, giving you access to exclusive perks. And who knows, I might even do a members-only live stream sometime soon. I'm incredibly grateful for every like, comment, and view, and I'm so excited for what's ahead. Now, let's get into the video. When Stranger Things first premiered, it felt focused, intimate, and surprisingly emotional for a supernatural series. Season 1 told a simple story about a missing boy in a small town, yet it layered that mystery with rich character work and genuine heart. The friendship between Eleven and Mike grounded the sci-fi elements in vulnerability and innocence. Will's disappearance gave the narrative urgency. Joyce's desperation and Hopper's quiet grief gave the adult storyline real weight. Even supporting characters like Dustin, Lucas, Nancy, Jonathan, and Steve felt purposeful and tightly woven into a cohesive arc. For me, Season 1 remains the strongest season of the show. As the series continues, however, I believe each season gradually loses some of that original precision. The stakes grow bigger, the action becomes louder, and the cast expands, but the emotional focus and narrative restraint begin to weaken. Characters who once felt central to the story sometimes drift into repetitive arcs or exaggerated versions of themselves. The tone shifts from grounded mystery to large-scale spectacle. In this video, I will argue that each season deteriorates in quality compared to the one before it, and I will break down exactly how the writing, character development, and tonal changes contribute to that decline. This is not a rejection of the later seasons, which still contain strong performances and memorable moments. Rather, it is an examination of how the show evolves away from what made it special in the first place. What begins as a tightly constructed story about friendship, fear, and loss slowly transforms into something more sprawling and uneven. In the following sections, I will analyze each season in detail to explain why, in my view, Season 1 stands at the top and why the series gradually weakens from there. Season 1 of Stranger Things stands above the rest because it understood one simple rule: less is more. Instead of juggling multiple villains, shadow organizations, and apocalyptic threats, it gave us one terrifying mystery: the Demogorgon, and let that single monster haunt every corner of Hawkins. The suspense worked because we didn't fully understand what it was or where it came from, and neither did the characters. Every flickering light and creaking wall felt important. The show didn't need to shout to be scary. It just quietly turned the lights off and let our imaginations do the rest, which, frankly, is much worse. By focusing on one central threat, the season stayed tight and cohesive, allowing the mystery to breathe and slowly unravel in a way that felt earned rather than overwhelming. What truly made the season exceptional, though, was how each character mattered to that mystery. Mike's loyalty and innocence gave the story its emotional core, especially through his bond with Eleven, whose vulnerability made her far more than just a girl with powers. She was a child, trying to understand friendship for the first time. Dustin brought humor and heart, often lightening the tension at just the right moments, while Lucas added skepticism and realism, grounding the group's decisions. Will's absence was deeply felt, even when he wasn't physically present. His struggle in the Upside Down drove the entire narrative forward. Joyce's relentless determination turned what could have been a crazy mom trope into one of the most compelling arcs of the season. She wasn't losing her mind, she was the only one paying attention. Hopper's quiet grief and gradual reawakening gave the adult storyline weight and maturity. Nancy and Jonathan's investigation added another layer of suspense, while Steve's surprising growth transformed him from a stereotypical high school jerk to an unlikely hero. Everyone had a role. Everyone had an impact. No one felt like filler. Season 1 worked because it was controlled, character-driven, and centered on a single, well-developed mystery. And sometimes, one monster is scarier, and better, than a whole army of them. Season 2 of Stranger Things is, in my opinion, almost just as strong as Season 1, and somehow still criminally underrated. Yes, there's the episode with Eleven's sister that made half the audience act like the show personally betrayed them. Was it a pacing detour? Sure. Did it feel like we briefly switched to a spin-off called Stranger Harry Styles? Absolutely. But one uneven episode doesn't erase an entire season of layered storytelling. Outside of that, Season 2 expands the world in a way that feels natural and terrifying. Instead of just giving us another creature chase, it introduces the Mind Flayer, and this thing isn't just a monster. It's an eldritch abomination, a towering cosmic horror straight out of a nightmare you can't wake up from. It doesn't just attack, it possesses, infects, and spreads like a living storm. The scale of it makes the Upside Down feel ancient and unknowable, not just a spooky mirror world with bad lighting. The build-up to the Demodogs alone shows how carefully the season handles suspense. Dustin finding Dart is funny and charming at first, classic Dustin optimism, but it slowly turns into dread as we realize this cute little slug lizard is actually a baby Demogorgon. And when Dart kills Muse the cat, that's the moment the show gently reminds you, hey, actions have consequences. It's shocking, a little darkly funny in hindsight, and perfectly in line with Season 2's theme, curiosity without caution can go very wrong. Meanwhile, Will's possession arc gives us some of the strongest acting in the series. Watching him struggle against the Mind Flayer isn't just scary, it's tragic. The horror becomes internal. Hopper, trying to protect Eleven while learning how to be a father, adds emotional weight, and Steve's full transformation into everyone's favorite babysitter is both hilarious and surprisingly heartfelt. And then there's the finale. The snowball dance is pure emotional payoff, awkward middle school slow dancing, nervous smiles, and that sweet moment between Eleven and Mike that feels earned. It's warm, nostalgic, and almost too wholesome. Almost. Because the camera pulls away, flips into the Upside Down, and reveals the Mind Flayer looming over the school like a god watching its prey. It's such a perfectly chilling final shot, a reminder that the threat isn't gone, just waiting. Season 2 understands escalation without chaos. It deepens the mythology, explores trauma, and delivers cosmic horror on a larger scale while still keeping the characters at the center. Maybe it's not as tight as Season 1, but calling it weak is wild. Sometimes I think the audience just wanted another bike chase and called it a day, but Season 2 dared to get weirder, darker, and more ambitious. And let's not forget Bob, sweet, heroic Bob, who basically started the show's now sacred tradition, introduce a lovable new character, make us emotionally invested, and then absolutely destroy us. The man walked, so future fan favorites could run straight into danger. Honestly, Season 2 deserves more credit than it gets. Real quick, if you're enjoying this video and want to support the channel in a bigger way, check out my Patreon. It's a great way to help me keep creating. You'll get some cool extras like behind the scenes stuff, early access, and more. Links in the description if you want to take a look. Thanks so much. Season 3 of Stranger Things is absolutely my guilty pleasure season. Do I recognize that it's ridiculous? Yes. Do I still rewatch it and have a great time? Also yes. The whole secret Soviet base hidden under Starcourt Mall is objectively insane. You're telling me a full underground Russian laboratory with armed guards, a laser capable of opening interdimensional gates, and a secret elevator system was operating beneath a food court in an orange Julius? In Indiana? During the 80s? It's the kind of plot twist that makes you pause and say, okay, sure. But somehow the season leans so hard into its neon, over-the-top summer blockbuster vibe that the absurdity becomes part of the charm. Then there's the monster, what I lovingly call the Meat Flayer. Unlike the shadowy cosmic horror of the Mind Flayer, this thing is loud, gooey, and made of melted people. It's body horror turned up to 11, pun intended. Watching the Flayed dissolve into that grotesque creature is disgusting in the most entertaining way possible. It's chaotic and cinematic, even if subtlety is nowhere to be found. And in the middle of all that slime and fireworks, we get Billy and Max's storyline. Billy's possession adds a genuinely tragic layer to his character, and his final moment breaking free long enough to sacrifice himself is one of the most emotional deaths in the series. Max reading him the memory of his mother earlier in the season adds weight to that ending. It's messy, but it hits hard. We also have Alexei. Sweet, Slurpee-loving Alexei, continuing the now time-honored tradition of introduce adorable new character, emotionally devastate audience shortly after. The man just wanted cherry Slurpees and a stuffed woody woodpecker. And the show said, absolutely not. At this point, new characters should honestly start negotiating life insurance in their contracts. Meanwhile, the mayor storyline is so cartoonishly corrupt that he feels like he wandered in from a different show, which somehow makes Hopper threatening him weirdly entertaining. And of course, we cannot ignore the peak chaos moment. Dustin and his long-distance girlfriend Susie halting the apocalypse for a full duet of never-ending story in the middle of a life-or-death crisis, with the world on the line. It's completely absurd, and yet I laugh every single time. And then there's Hopper's death. The big emotional sacrifice, the swelling music, the heartfelt letter, except I felt nothing. Not because the scene wasn't staged dramatically, but because the show almost immediately undercut it by revealing he was alive. The post-credit tease makes it clear this isn't goodbye, so instead of devastation, it feels like a temporary inconvenience. It's hard to mourn someone when the series itself won't commit, but we'll get to that. And I would be completely wrong if I didn't mention Robin. Her introduction this season is one of the best surprises the show has pulled off. She starts as the sarcastic, hyper-competent Scoops Ahoy coworker who clearly thinks she's the smartest person in the room, because she usually is, and then gradually becomes one of the most layered new additions to the group. Her decoding the Russian transmission, her drug-fueled bathroom heart-to-heart with Steve, and her coming out scene are all standout moments. She's funny without trying too hard, vulnerable without losing her edge, and her dynamic with Steve instantly becomes one of the show's best friendships. In a season full of chaos, slime, and fireworks, Robin somehow manages to feel refreshingly real, and she's easily one of the greatest parts of the season. Season 3 is bigger, louder, dumber, and less grounded than what came before it. Yet, as a colorful, chaotic summer spectacle with heart buried under all that melted monster goo, it's ridiculously entertaining, even when it's being completely absurd. Season 4 of Stranger Things is where, for me, the cracks fully split open. It's not that there aren't great moments, there absolutely are, but the season is painfully drawn out and overloaded with perspectives. We're juggling the Hawkins group, investigating a series of supernatural murders, the California storyline with Mike, Will, Jonathan, and Argyle on a cross-country rescue mission, Eleven's lab flashbacks that function as a full origin story, and Hopper's prison escape arc in Russia. That's 4 major plot lines, all stretched across supersized episodes that feel more like feature films than television. Instead of building tension through focus, the season constantly cuts away just as momentum starts to build. Every time one storyline gets interesting, we're yanked to another continent. It becomes less of a cohesive narrative and more of a narrative relay race. Then there's Vecna. At first, he's genuinely terrifying, a Freddy Krueger-style psychological predator who invades minds, feeds on trauma, and kills with horrifying spectacle. His introduction is eerie, methodical, and effective. But the more the show explains him, the less menacing he becomes. Once he's revealed to be Henry Creel, aka One, aka the orderly from the lab, the mystique starts to evaporate. The horror shifts from unknowable evil to angry, superpowered guy with a grudge. And somehow, in trying to tie everything together, the show muddies its own mythology. Is Vecna the mastermind? Did he create the Upside Down? Did Eleven accidentally shape it when she banished him? What happened to the Mind Flayer being this ancient cosmic eldritch entity beyond human comprehension? Personally, the Mind Flayer worked better as the ultimate villain, a shadowy godlike force looming over Hawkins. Turning Vecna into the architect behind it all shrinks the scale. Come on, guys. Come on, Duffer Brothers, what are you doing? Cosmic horror becomes personal, revenge, and that makes the world feel smaller, not bigger. Season 4 isn't devoid of strong performances or emotional highs, but it feels bloated and over-explained. The mystery that once made the series special is replaced with lore dumps and extended monologues. Bigger doesn't mean better, and longer definitely doesn't mean deeper. What started as a tight supernatural mystery about kids facing the unknown has transformed into a sprawling mythology epic that seems unsure of who or what its true villain is. And even when the audience is left saying, wait, who actually made the Upside Down again? That might be a sign things have gotten a little too tangled. Season 5 of Stranger Things, at least in my view, ends the series on its weakest note. Audience reception was all over the place, but a huge chunk of viewers seemed disappointed, and I get why. After all the build-up, all the lore, all the promises of an epic conclusion, the final season somehow felt both overcrowded and underwhelming. The visual effects, which had steadily grown more ambitious each year, oddly looked less polished here. Instead of cinematic spectacle, some sequences felt rushed and artificial. Even the performances from actors who've proven how talented they are occasionally came across as strangely stiff, like they were reenacting earlier emotional beats rather than living in them. It almost felt like the show tried to regress back to Season 1's dynamics without understanding why they worked in the first place. For example, Jonathan and Steve butting heads again doesn't feel like meaningful character tension. It feels like the writers hit the remember this button. The final confrontation with the Mind Flare and Vecna should have been legendary, with the culmination of cosmic horror and personal vendetta colliding. Instead, it felt surprisingly forgettable. For a show that once thrived on atmosphere and dread, the climax leaned more into spectacle than substance, and somehow even the spectacle didn't fully land. After seasons of building up the Mind Flare as this ancient, looming force and Vecna as its twisted architect, their endgame lacked haunting weight that made earlier seasons so effective. That said, it wasn't all bad. Derek, with his ridiculous, almost cartoonish energy, brought a weird levity that actually worked. His silliness felt intentional, like the show briefly remembered how to have fun with itself again. And the Dustin and Steve dynamic remains one of the best parts of the entire series. Their banter, their loyalty, and even the way they fight side by side still carry that spark the show once had. If anything consistently worked from Season 2 onward, it was them. But overall, Season 5 feels like a series running on fumes, trying to recapture its own original magic while buried under the weight of its own mythology. What began as a focused, intimate mystery about friendship and fear slowly expanded into something louder, busier, and less cohesive. By the end, the emotional precision that made Season 1 special is hard to find, and that's really the core of it. The show didn't collapse in a dramatic explosion, it just drifted further away from what made it great. Thank you so much for watching. This video took a lot of time to make, so I would really appreciate it if you would leave a like and subscribe. And please make sure to turn on that notification bell so you don't miss a future upload. More quality videos like this one coming soon. Once again, I really appreciate you, and I'll see you next time.